Well, this is a strange sight. Yes, in fact, by this point, this video is live. And, as you can see by the title, I've somehow managed to get a press car. Yes, 2025, Happy New Year to you all. Thank you to all the new subscribers over 2024. Yes, I know I've been very absent, and that's for a very good reason, because I haven't really been able to get new cars, and that has been a trend for many smaller YouTubers. But anyway, I'm digressing. Let's talk about the car. Yes, the new MG3 Plus Hybrid. And you're probably going to say, well, aren't you a traditional petrol head? And you've probably been mentioning about you're not the biggest fan of Chinese built cars. And yes, I will put my hands up and say I have been guilty of that. But that was from old, when MG were first acquired by a Chinese brand, which I'm not even going to bother to say their name because I don't even know who they are. But let's be frank, the cars were terrible. Very cheap, not so cheerful, and they lacked character. Now, I'll fast forward 2-3 years, and I'm talking about MG ZS's. I've been in for a few of them, and I was very, very disappointed. But, however, that has changed. Yes, I've had this car for almost half a week now, covered 350 miles, and I have to say, I know, I'm very impressed. Now, as ever, MG follow the cheap and cheerful philosophy, and although it is cheap, it's definitely a lot better than its predecessors many, many years ago. Now, this format is going to be a walk around. If you're not familiar, I basically take you guys around the car, and for anyone that's a prospective buyer of this car, hopefully it will give you a detailed view of what you're looking for from whether it's a Supermini or anything else. In this case, this is a great rival to the Suzuki Swift, or the Swift Sport if you're going to put it bluntly. Now, I've actually got to experience Swifts quite a bit, and in the whole brief summary, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's probably the one reason why, although I've gone against the grain and got an MG, I wanted specifically to get this because I've pretty much started a channel around the Swift. So I'd pretty much say I'm quite qualified to talk about this also. So excuse me if I bring up the Swift too much. Maybe I'll do a Swift counter if I can be bothered. Anyway, let's have a walk round. Now, the MG3 is a Supermini, comes in 4 doors only, and it has a hybrid system. Unlike the Swift, which has a mild hybrid system, this is a little bit more clever. The engine, of course, is a 1.5 4-pot with the electric motor in the front driving the front wheels. Now, this has almost 200 horsepower, which is quite funny because I have a Fiesta ST, which as standard has 200 horsepower with obviously the overboost feature, meaning it's about 180, give or take. And when I drive this, the hybrid system's quite complicated. You can't drive it on EV whenever you want. It basically tells you when you'd like to be an EV. So like if you're standstill in a town, it will switch over from the petrol engine and turn over to the EV motor if there is any battery to basically allow you to drive in that mode. You can't toggle anywhere in the dash to allow you to pick and choose what you want to do. But yeah, it's got this funny feature where it gives you some sort of like boost if you need to get out of a tricky situation. But it reminds me of a very old like 90s hot hatch where it's got a very big turbo, for example, and it takes forever to actually give you any boost, like the traditional turbo lag. So it's quite funny. I'll actually probably show you in the next video where I'll take you for a drive in it and probably demonstrate it. It's quite hilarious. It gives the car a little bit of a character, although it being very peppy also. But the car also comes in 2 trim levels, makes it easy for, say, if you're really on a budget and you're not too fussed about all the toys and gimmicks, you can get the SE trim, whereas I would actually opt and probably recommend that you get the trophy version, which pretty much has everything from standard on the SE, apart from a 360 camera, which is pretty cool, considering that this is a sub 21 grand car, rain sensing, LED lights, heated seats, and a heated front steering wheel, which is quite crazy in a car in this price range. Now, that certainly offers a lot more than the Swift. Now, I'm going off the dome here, so I can't really remember much, so excuse me for putting stuff in the video, popping and tagging stuff if I forget things. I just want to be as detailed as possible. Prices, of course. So the SE is 18.5 grand, which is, I think, an absolute bargain. even though you don't get those optional extras that you do on the trophy. And the trophy, of course, is £20,500, so give or take it's around a £2 difference. Personally, the time I've had with the car, I think the £2 difference is well worth it, especially with most people these days getting PCP deals. Now, at time of filming, the last time I looked, I remember the car being around £180 a month on a finance deal, with around £2.5–3 down as a deposit for, I think, around 3 years, which is crazy considering that inflation has killed new cars. They just become so unaffordable, more so the EV. Like, you can get an EV for almost 50 grand, which is crazy for someone that's a first driver. This car is perfect for it. Now, I briefly touched on the 1.5 litre engine. It is mated to a 3-speed auto. Now, I won't gloss too much into what it's like. All I'd say is that I would have preferred maybe a 6-speed auto gearbox, because it does great in town stuff, but when you start venturing out, like I did recently going to Birmingham to the Autosport International show, yeah, it was a little bit lackluster when you start getting it out on the open motorway. But anyway, colour choices. Now, I did mention that the trophy cost 21 grand, but that is 20.5 grand, but that's only for the Arctic white colour, which I would say is probably a nice colour if you don't want to be spending money on optional colours, which are £590. It's a good saving. However, if you do want to get a little bit savvy with your money and start throwing it around, you can get some other colours, including this Monument Silver, which doesn't really look silver at the minute because it does look a little bit dirty. We're currently experiencing a very cold spell in the UK, and I can't be bothered to clean it because once I do, it's going to just get dirty again. But you get Monument Silver, Battersea Blue, Dynamic Red, Hampstead Grey, and I think that's your lot. Oh no, and Black Pearl. I think I've pretty much named all the colours. And I've seen one in black, and I prefer, actually, if I was to have one of these cars, I'd get it in black, because we'll get onto the exterior now. I've spoken to a few people, including my wife and a lot of my mates, and everyone's had that same facial expression where they're not very impressed with it. Now, I will be honest, the Swift isn't any better, but I don't think this is comparably any better. It's still a little bit lackluster. Now, if we walk round, you can see the front's probably the most talking point. It just lacks something. It's hard to explain, but when you put into context that this is a Supermini for mostly an audience that either someone's passed a driving test, or you're just on a budget and you need something to run around in, I think the looks is probably the least of your worries. It gets better around the back, but nevertheless, I just think that MG are missing something. Now, this isn't actually the first time, well, the first crack at the whip that MG have had making a Supermini since they've been acquired by the Chinese. They actually did make another MG3 quite a few years ago, and yeah, I have to say, this is a lot better looking than it. The car comes on 16-inch alloys, and again, I'll talk about it in the drive video, how it rides, but in a brief summary, I think MG have done a great job of balancing it being a little bit sporty on back roads and keeping it comfortable on long distances. And I actually had two other guys, two of my mates, who you'll see on the channel doing other things with me, both over 6 foot, and they were both comfortable, and we're in the car for pretty much 4 hours on Friday, as I said, going to Autosport, and they shared the same thoughts as me. Very comfortable, considering that this is a budget Supermini at best. But yeah, oh, also trophy I forgot, comes with keyless entry, which is a bit of a sour topic for most car owners these days, with theft in the UK at its all-time high, probably mostly because of keyless entry. Now, the SE version doesn't have that, but of course, if you're after something with a little bit more tech, you're a little bit in a rut, I'd say, because you can't actually add optional extras to your SE. It's either your SE or your trophy. That's your lot. Let's have a look inside. So I will go around the other side whilst I open up the passenger door, and where the exterior was a little bit critical, I have to say the interior is actually incredible. Now, of course, this being, if you're getting in the SE, an 18.5 grand car, you do expect very horrible scratchy plastics. And I know a lot of people from previous videos comment, well, why do you talk about this? Well, I'm just giving you the information. Whether you like it or not, that's up to you. These are very subjective opinions from myself. I've lived with this car for a very short time, so please do bear with me. I know a lot of existing owners of cars that I review watch these videos, which I can never comprehend, but for whatever reason, I appreciate the views anyway. But I have different opinions to whether I like something or not, whereas an owner might live with something better because they've had a longer period of time with the car, if that makes sense. But yeah, everything that you need, in a brief, I think everything that you use in the car, say the infotainment system, which I think is quite responsive, very clean, very simple, apart from your Android Auto and your CarPlay are not wireless. This is 2024, well 2025 now, and we still haven't got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto in this sort of thing. It's more of an observation, not complaint. You do have obviously your standard USB cable along with a USB-C cable. You don't have wireless charging, which, yeah, being a Chinese car, I think it'd be quite an easy thing to retrofit, considering most of the stuff battery-wise is made in China. But yeah, back to the ease of things. So everything you use in the car is very good quality. I mean, the steering wheel's nice and chunky. I do like the design. It's very like modern-esque in terms of like German cars. The steering wheel, there's not a lot going on. As of the actual center console area, there's not a lot going on. Now, there are buttons, touch buttons for your climate, your front and rear heats, heating for the windows. You can toggle back to your home menu, and obviously you've got buttons for up and down with your volume. The rest, okay, when you talk about the climate area, I'll actually start the car up, is a little bit more annoying because when you're driving, again, if you own this car for a longer period of time, you'll get used to the infotainment system. But for me, it has been a little bit tricky. I would have preferred some physical buttons, but I get the philosophy in this car. It's very simple, very easy. Once you get in it, there's not a lot to do. Again, as I said, you've got a 3-speed gearbox, very easy to operate. You just toggle to the left for reverse, and you go to the right for drive. This does get a little bit sticky. Again, this is a cheap car. You can't criticize it too much, but I'm just being observant. Sometimes it sticks, and you sort of have to like give it a little bit of a persuasion to get it back to where it was. It's got like a clicking motion in it. There you go. So the car's just gone from EV into its petrol engine. I'll actually turn it off because it's a little bit noisy. Yeah, so when you start the car, if there's enough battery, it will start an EV. It's more of a way of warming the engine up beforehand. But yeah, it's very impressive in here. I like it. The seats are comfortable. One thing that my passengers have criticised about the car is that you can't actually manually change the height of the seat. So when they sit in the car, especially Matt, who's the mechanic that will be helping me with my VR6 Audi, he's like 6'6" almost, and he struggled in here in terms of headroom because obviously the seat is very high up, and most other people have complained about that also. But they can't moan too much because you've got heated seats, and I think personally don't really care about a passenger. I'm in the driving seat, so I do all the jobs. But yeah, it's a very nice car. You've got a clear display in front of you. It does some weird things, like the safety systems. Now, as you saw, the car's very dirty, and if you're a person that relies on safety equipment quite a bit, because most new cars now are forced to have it as opposed to needing it, you just get an error lights all the time, and I've been getting that recently because they're all cameras and sensors at the front, and they're all blocked or they're all dirty, and you're going to spend most of your time cleaning them as opposed to driving the car. Now, the other annoying thing is if you're not so keen on safety features in the menus, you have to go in each time to turn it all off, and you have to do that every time you cycle the ignition, which is very annoying, and I've been doing that every single time I've got in this car. What else? This is what I love about this car, is it's very simple. It's almost hops back to cars of old where you just get in and drive. I think this is a bit more, it's a cheap car, that's why there's little things in here. But you've also got driving modes, which is quite cool. You've got eco modes, which I hardly ever use, normal, which it defaults in, and you've got sport, believe it or not, which definitely does work, and it definitely gives the car more spice. It mixes in with the electric motor, obviously, as well, gives you a bit more throttle response. The one annoying thing that I don't like is this is sort of almost more of a Japanese thing than Chinese, but yeah, if the camera person comes over, you have to open the fuel filler flap, which is here. On a normal car, you can just do that, but you can't. You've got to use a button to do it, and it's in just below your footwell on the driver's side. But if you're a bit clumsy, you can also open the bonnet as well, which I have done, but I do want to show you the engine and the electric motor. But yeah, it just does quirky things, like the dash. It gives you information, of course. Oh, it's just telling me that I haven't got the key. It tells you things that you want to know, like your speed you're doing, the miles per gallon, which I will tell you now, I've done just over 50 to the gallon, which MG claim this will do 62 to the gallon. And I know it will do it, but in the driving style I've been providing this car for the last half a week, I've definitely not been driving it conservatively. I've been driving it within its limits, but yeah, it's all about having fun. Plus, I'm a petrol head, so I want to experience it from how I would drive the car as opposed to driving it how it maybe should be, because this isn't a performance car. MG don't advertise it as that, but it is capable of going down a B road quite well, considering that it's on very efficient tyres. Yes, it does get a little bit oversteery sometimes, but yeah, I'll say less on that. But yeah, so I'll probably jump back to the rear in a moment, and the boot. I don't actually know how to open this. Oh, have I found it? So this is where you know this video is raw and you're learning with me. I can't actually see it. Oh, there we go. Very easy. And of course, being a cheap car, you have to do this yourself. Ugh. But yeah, so here we are, the power plant of the beast. So now you can see here we've got the electric motor and of course the 1.5 petrol engine. And as much as it's very complex, it's definitely impressive how this works. And I'm not even going to try and explain it because I don't actually know how it works. But yeah, as I said earlier, you can't actually get control too much of when you want to drive it in EV. It's sort of the car decides it for you. And you can monitor when the electric motor's working and when the petrol engine's working. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's nothing special. If anyone that's a petrol head's watching this video, yeah, they're just going to be like, really? Is this it? But for someone, this is definitely, for someone that just needs a run around, this car is more than perfect. Oh, one other thing that I really do like on this car, it's almost like a BMW M product, what we've got on the steering wheel. So in the car, of course, you've got a lot of things, as I said, safety, your lane keeping assist, front collision, rear blind spot, lots more that, to be fair guys, I don't use any of it, but it is for people that maybe are not as confident in driving. And it's a big argument because if you rely on safety equipment, which is evident in the UK, the driving standards have gone downhill. And is that because of the introduction of more safety equipment? I don't know. It's a discussion that maybe you can have in the comments with me. But one cool thing is that you've got these two stars on the steering wheel, and they're actually like driver select buttons, but they don't do that. So you can actually configure it in the settings. Now, I've got my right one for regen braking, and you can actually see it here that I'm changing the amount of regen force, 1 being very little, 2 being medium, and 3 being the highest. You probably can't see it on camera, but I will pan probably a bit of B-roll to that. So yeah, that's my right button configured. And then my left button is allows me to look at the very dirty cameras all around the car. This is the optional 360 camera here. And yeah, as you can see, the front camera is completely covered in mud, which isn't ideal. And as I said, that's why you get all these errors up on the dash saying front camera block, blah, 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 is because it's filthy out here. Ice, salt, all sorts on the road. It's just a recipe for disaster. But nevertheless, it's a very handy feature. And as I said, you can customize that to your heart's content. Well, not to your heart's content, because there's only like 4 or 5 settings that you can choose from. But you get the drift. Now, let me turn that back off. we'll talk about the rear. Now, annoyingly, the boys I was with, as I said earlier, James and Matthew, are both very tall lads, and I'm not. I'm a midget, and I'll quite happily admit to that. But one of them actually sat in the rear, and considering that this is a Supermini, you're never going to expect it to be too practical. But for me, I fit in here like a glove. Well, more than that. I've got lots of room. I could move in here and start a family if I really wanted to. But I've got lots of headroom, plenty of knee room. Of course, this is actually set to me, so yeah, I'm going to have plenty of leg room. But the boys, well, James, didn't complain the whole way. And I mean, he doesn't complain too much anyway. He's a good chap. But we completely forgot. We was having too much fun at Autosport. I forgot to film a segment of them both crammed in the back for your viewing pleasure. And they're both busy, so I can't get them back. But you have to take my word for it. Now, the boot, it isn't class leading by any means, but it isn't far off. 293 litres maybe, we'll say sub 300. And I think that's more than ample for what many people in this target audience will be using the boot for. One annoying thing is, you don't have a split rear seats. It's all one whole bench that will fold down, and it will give you a sub 1,000 litre. I think it's like 960 litres it will give you in total. So I think for the price and the what it offers you in terms of spec, I think it pips the Suzuki Swift in every department. It's a very weird thing to say. One thing maybe that maybe MG won't like me saying this is reliability. Now, I'm not going to take it too much for distance. Oh look, I've opened the fuel filler cap. There you go. It's a bit flimsy, but it allows you to fill up. Speaking of filling up, this is around a 36 litre tank, and I was talking about my miles per gallon. So yes, I did 50 miles per gallon in around 350 miles of driving, and I had to fill up, and it was saying with the fuel I had left and what I put in, I did around 370 miles to a tank, which for a 36 litre tank isn't actually too bad considering the style of driving I was doing. Of course, it's very cold here, -1 most days, and having the heating on, heated front seats, heated steering wheel, climate on. Yeah, it's obviously going to affect your miles per gallon also. But yeah, I think it's not too bad. And I've been driving my Audi VR6 around for the last few months, daily in it to work, and I've been filling up every week at the petrol station, doing around 70 quid a week. Yes, my pockets are physically empty from that car, but it's good fun. Whereas this, you can pretty much drive however you want it, as granny-like as you want, to an absolute hooligan, and you pretty much, your pockets are just loving you. Pretty much, your wallet is never coming out, if that makes sense. But yeah, overall, I think this car does really do a good job of providing value for money. Yes, there are things like when you close doors, it sounds a bit tinny, and yeah, I think for the price point, you're just going to get used to it and just forget about it really, because you can't complain. Cheap and cheerful is the motto, and I think they've done an excellent job at it, because before it was very cheap and it wasn't so cheerful. But yeah, I don't get impressed with cars easily unless they're like big powered things like my 140i, BMW M2s, all that sort of stuff. Pretty much a petrol head's wet dream. I don't get impressed with cars often, but for things like this, not just the fact that it is actually fun to drive, it just gives value for money for people that are on low incomes. Yes, okay, in the grand scheme of things, it's still an expensive car, but you've got to remember, guys, manufacturers like Ford have pulled production on the Fiesta. I think still a stupid idea if you ask me, but MG have still gone, you know what, we're going to capture that market and continue making B segment cars, because people do actually want them, and I think more than ever people are craving for cars like this. And I even said to the missus, I'm actually considering buying one of these, because not only would it help me with my wallet with the VR6, but it's just a great little runaround. You can pretty much do anything in it as you would normally do in any other car, and it won't complain at you. One thing you do also get is a 7-year warranty. Now, MG are very cheeky in this, and I'll be honest with you guys, because a lot of other reviewers say, yes, you get a 7-year warranty or 80,000 miles. That isn't necessarily true. Yes, you do get a 7-year warranty, but the car has different years and different mileages for all different things around it. So your clutch might only have 7,500 miles or 24 months warranty. It's not everything. Anything goes wrong, you have 7 years on it. So I would consult, if you are interested in this car, do your research, because yeah, you can get caught out with things. Now, I did think I brought up reliability and I got distracted like a squirrel running up a tree or seeing an acorn. Reliability hasn't been great with these cars. Now, I will sympathise with MG. They're a new brand. Okay, they've been around for a long time, but they've been taken over. They're completely different to what they were before. Well, people will laugh, well, MGs weren't reliable when British Leyland were making them. I get it. But it's a completely new platform. Of course, introducing hybrid does add complexity, but the cars originally, as I said at the beginning of this video, haven't been the best, and they've been scoring pretty low in reliability tests across the board. However, no one's really, this car's pretty much brand new. It's only been around for the last year, so it's yet to say how reliable it's going to be. I think from the time that I've had it, it's done me no harm. Okay, I've only got it for a week, and I'll probably only do another 200 miles in it. But it's safe to say that I think it's a great purchase for someone, especially if you're getting it on finance and you're not going to be attached to the car for the 2-3 years you'll have it. Yeah, I think reliability isn't too much of a problem, especially if it does have warranty on it, which it will do for that sort of age and time you'll have it. I can't imagine you won't be covered in most aspects. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just... My mind's a mess, because this is the first time I've been behind a camera filming something new for quite a while, so hopefully I've done well and I can give myself a pat on the back. If not, I'm sure you guys will tell me in the comments. But yeah, if you want to ask any other questions about the MG3, maybe if you're looking at buying one and you want some advice from me for whatever reason, please do fire down in the comment section below. If you haven't liked already, please do subscribe, because it does help, and believe me, it really does, because yeah, press officers are being a bit tough at the minute. And a big thank you to MG, because without them you wouldn't be having any content anytime soon. Yes, you'll be getting some A3 VR6 videos, but I think for the people watching this, Audi 3.2 VR6s are definitely not in your remit in terms of affordability, running it, and the headaches that I've been having with mine. But yeah, there will be more content on that. But yeah, keep an eye out for the drive video as well. Yeah, hopefully I've answered everything. If not, as I said, comment below. But until next time, thank you for watching, and have a great day, morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching, and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye.